Comparison is the killer of joy. So it's in our human nature to compare ourselves with other people. It's like how we are stock. Whether you view people as above you in status, wealth, possessions, etc., or lower than you in those same things. When you compare yourself, it really takes away from the present moment of who you are, what you have, and the position that you're in this current moment. The reason why comparison robs you of your happiness is everybody's on a different path, a different life journey. Everybody overcomes their own different hurdles. Everyone has their own personalized experiences, their own personalized highs and lows in life that only make sense over time. There's a whole bunch of different factors of when someone may experience something over someone else, or someone may get something before someone else, but everyone's journey is different. So you should never ever compare yourself to anybody else, because it's not a good reference point at all, because everyone's lives are so different. Everyone's upbringings are different. Everyone's experiences and lessons are different, that it doesn't make sense to compare yourself to others. But it's the way human nature is. With things like social media and other things like that, it's really easy to fall in a cycle where you compare yourself through the way someone is portraying themselves, but they're living their lives and you should be living your life. That means focusing on yourself and your life and what you're doing without compromising your happiness or comparing yourself with others. The time you invest into social media or looking into other people's lives, it's time you're taking away from your life and working on yourself or focusing on yourself. Think of social media like each page is like someone's house, for example. Like, you wouldn't be peeking your head into someone else's house and being like, well, what's going on here in your life? And then going to another house and being like, oh, what's going on in your life? You know, it's like, that's kind of like an analogy of what social media can be nowadays, where you're poking your head into other people's lives, other people's businesses, and unconsciously or consciously comparing yourself with that. And then it's altering your state of being. It's a waste of energy and a waste of potential to really not be your first priority. If you really focus on yourself and kind of detox yourself away from anything that creates comparison, then you could live a much more fulfilled and happier life and lifestyle. Like I said, everyone's life journey is different. Everyone experiences things at different times in their lives. Everyone has different highs and lows. No one fully knows anybody, because there's certain things that people experience and go through that nobody truly understands, because they will never go through it. So broad of a spectrum that it doesn't really even make sense to compare yourself. The more time, the more energy, the more emotion you invest into other people's lives, the more of that you're taking away from yourself, where you could be investing all of that into yourself, into your well-being, into how you're feeling, what you're doing, and building yourself up. Comparison and motivation are two different things. You could be inspired by somebody and their actions and what they're doing, and that'll motivate you. That usually comes from people that are following their bliss, their purpose, their passion. Inspire others when their work is truly from their heart, not from an ego standpoint. When you're truly working from the heart, doing what you're passionate about with no ego, hidden ego like incentives, you tend to impact people and motivate them. But when you're envious of people and jealous of people, that's when the comparison outlook steps in. I've had moments where I've been super content, super happy with where I am in the present moment. And then unconsciously, the mind is built for safety, and it may bring up fearful moments because it's trying to protect you. But with the way civilization is through evolution, the mind doesn't need to be in this fearful, comparison, trapped state anymore. And you really need to observe your mind and what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and how you're looking at things. I've had moments where I have been super content with myself, what I'm doing, the present moment. And then unconsciously, I'll think of maybe somebody else, where somebody else is that I'm not, or what somebody else has. And it ruins my vibe. It ruins how I'm feeling in that moment. And it's all because of that unconscious comparison creeped in. So mindfulness is such a vital practice, and it's so important to your well-being. Focus is such an important attribute that you can build and strengthen within yourself. Focus is like a muscle that's strengthened over time. And when you could build up your focused strength, you're able to prioritize where your focus goes, obviously. And when you have a strengthened focus skill, for example, I challenge you right now to think of one thing, like think of the number 3, right? Simple enough. 3. Just imagine the number 3 in your mind, close your eyes, and see how long you can think of that number 3. Just, that's it. And I guarantee that many people, like 99.999% of people, won't be able to maintain that focus level of thinking number 3 for longer than like 20-30 seconds, which is crazy. And that's trying, right? You'll soon realize that your focus skill isn't that good, and that's how everyone's is unless you work on it. It's like going to the gym. You go consistently, invest the time, you invest your energy into building your muscle or losing weight, and then it compounds over time. It's those daily steps, daily habits of like doing it that build up over time and then ensure a result. And that's the same as your focus skills. So yeah, that's something I work on for myself, and I challenge you guys to start to do if you haven't, is practice building your focus strength by taking some time out of your day to enter a mindful state, almost like a meditative state, where you can kind of sit back, relax, take some deep breaths. Deep breaths actually have like a biological effect on your overall brain function and nervous system, where it puts you in a more relaxed state. You can control your mind if you find your mind's running around, having anxious thoughts of the past, the future, depressed thoughts. Your mind's just all over the place, self-sabotaging. You can control or help control your mind through your body. And one of those techniques is through breath. So long inhale and then long exhale. If you do that 3 times, close your eyes and just try to focus on one thing and see how long you can maintain that one thought. And you will see, either consciously or unconsciously, that your mind will scatter. You won't be able to focus on one thing. I'm even going to say longer than 10-15 seconds, because your mind will just switch to something else. It's been so programmed to do so. Work on that focus skill, especially over the long term when you commit to doing this daily. It's a compound thing that ensures results over a period of time of doing it over and over. Another powerful practice is just entering that mindful state and just observing your thoughts where you're above your thoughts. Usually your thoughts will enter your mind, and then they'll have like a chemical, emotional reaction to them, and you'll start to feel the emotion of what that thought brings. But try to be in that state where you're observing what thoughts enter your mind. So like a thought will come in, and then rather than being swept away with it, you're like, okay, I'm thinking this. And then like you turn your consciousness, your awareness on the thought itself, rather than the thought having power over you. And then the next thought may come into your head, and then you just observe that. You don't get taken away with it. You don't get swept away emotionally. You just observe it. And that really gives you this like consciousness power, this like awareness over your unconscious patterns. And a lot of the comparison comes from unconscious patterns and unconscious human nature. It brings a lot of fear, doubt, worry, self-sabotage amongst people. But if you really commit to this, to like a daily habit or routine, that compounds into huge results over the long term. So profound practice that I feel may help lots of people out there. Peace.